Triple bag alert, triple bag alert, triple bag alert, triple bag alert, folks. That's right. I had already recorded the episode prior to these other two bag alerts, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, everything's going to be perfectly fine. But guess what? We got smacked with two more bag alerts to make it a triple bag alert, okay? DJ Moore gets paid, Tristan Wirfs gets paid, and David Godchaux got paid. We're going to talk about all three of their contracts, okay? As well as, is this a historic offseason for wide receiver contracts? As well as my predictions on who will get paid next, okay? As well as the details have finally come out about Matthew Stafford's restructure deal. We have to go over it. We have to talk about it. And what does this mean moving forward between him and the Rams? All of this and more on what? The 20th. That's right. We have made it to 20 episodes, folks. Thank you everybody for your support. We got a lot more coming down the road. So get ready, cuz guess what? We ain't stopping. We'll never stop, all right? We're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on giving the bag alerts. We're going to keep on giving the analysis and the fix that all of you junkies need. I am your host, Kale, who currently is in Malibu, California, sipping a Long Island, looking at the beach, and the dolphins go by. Who's ready to lock in? I am. Let's go. All right, folks. Okay, you know what? We're just going to jump right into the news. Okay, we're going to go right into the bag alerts. We're not going to delay anything. We're not going to try to stall. We're going to go deep into these bag alerts. Okay, first bag alert. Okay, DJ Moore, receiver for the Chicago Bears, inked a 4-year, $110 million deal, okay? $82.6 million in total guarantees, and he's making $27.5 million a year, right? So when you look at it, that's a really good deal, honestly speaking here, right? Now, let's look at his stats before we go a little bit deeper into the bag alert, okay? So when you look at DJ Moore's 2023 stats, right, he had 136 targets for 96 receptions for 1,364 yards, 8 touchdowns, 70.6 catch percentage, and I'm forgetting about this, but I'm glad I saw it in my notes. 5.6 receptions per game, as well as 80.2 receiving yards per game. Now, when we look at this here, right, DJ Moore has been a dynamic receiver since coming into the league, okay? I remember when he was coming out of Maryland, there was a lot of people that were speculating like, okay, he's a first round pick, he's a second round pick, he's a third round pick. I would have easily taken him in the first round simply because of the skill set that he was bringing into the league, okay? You're talking about somebody who is able to create separation at a very high level. You're talking about someone who can be a deep threat. You're talking about somebody who, you know, once he gets the ball in his hands, he's trying to go for the touchdown. That's his end goal. His end goal is the end zone. It's not to just get the first down or to get 15 yards or 20 yards. No, he is trying to score every single time he gets the ball in his hands, right? And that is what the Chicago Bears are basically keeping at this point. Because let's be real here, folks. The best thing they probably could have ever did was get DJ Moore and then give the Panthers, the first pick of that draft. Because honestly speaking, it's looking like so far that things are going to pay off pretty well for the Bears, especially for the offense. Because when you look at it, they got the quarterback in Caleb Williams. They have DeAndre Swift. Now they have Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore. That's a really potent offense, folks. I don't care what anyone says. That is a sleeper of an offense that people are going to have to worry about, especially once Caleb Williams gets his feet wet and he really starts to understand, the ins and outs of different defenses and whatnot. Man, you are talking about a big problem, all right? So Well, actually, you know what? Let's actually give a little bit more detail into DJ Moore, right? So far, he has had 4 1,000-yard seasons, right? And since 2019, Moore has had over 100 targets in every season. You are talking about a baller of a player. You're talking about somebody who the Bears knew that they were going to have to lock him up. Okay, he is a great player on and off the field. He doesn't get in trouble. He's a dynamic, player, and basically he is who he is. What you see on tape. You're talking about somebody who can do it all, and he contributes at a very high level, and he's always wanting to make the big play. That's who DJ Moore is. So congratulations to him, right, in his back alert. Now, moving on to David Godchaux, right? Defensive tackle for the Patriots. He inked a 2-year, $21 million deal. He gets $16.5 million guaranteed. Now, when we look at this deal, right, this is somewhat of a, just I wouldn't say like a small deal. I would say this is sort of like an insurance policy, honestly. And the reason why I say that is because with things unveiling with Christian Barmore, correct? The Patriots are in a situation where they have to figure out exactly what are they going to do moving forward, because there is no timetable for Christian Barmore coming back. It's not, because he has blood clots, and blood clots can be a little bit difficult to to deal with and whatnot, right? And so the Patriots are trying to figure out exactly what can they do to somewhat, quote unquote, stop the bleeding when it comes to the defensive line position, right? Because Christian Barmore was literally their best defensive tackle, okay? And David Godchaux, he's not someone where like his stats are gonna woo you over and whatnot. He's somewhat of a complimentary player who he can get his hands dirty. That's who David Godchaux is. And so, they basically, were thinking to themselves, okay, we'll give him this small extension, probably bring in somebody, which they did. They brought in Mike Purcell, and, just go from there and try to see what happens now. And, and this wasn't in my notes, but I think it definitely does need to be talked about. The Patriots are somewhat in a contract situation with Matthew Judon. Now, for those who don't know, Matthew Judon is looking for more money, but the problem is I don't think the Patriots are trying to pay him the money that he probably wants. And what you're starting to see now is a trend where a lot of teams are not trying to let go of their players. And I had this conversation with Mook. Shout out to Mook, because he definitely brought it up. Players like Brandon Ayuk, Judon, T. Higgins, and whatnot are basically being held captive, right? In a way where the team doesn't want to pay them, but they don't want to trade them. So it's like, exactly what the hell do you want to do, right? Especially for someone like a Brandon Ayuk, where, if we're being real here, folks, there is no reason under the sun that the 49ers should still be able to pay a lot of their players. There's just no way. They have multiple players on that team, on both sides of the ball, that they have reset at their markets. Okay? Debo, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, if I'm not mistaken, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, if I'm not mistaken as well. When they had Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner, right? So I just don't understand, why is there so much of a hold out, hold in type of situation with a lot of teams now. Like, if you guys aren't willing to pay the player, let him go. Let him go. Just let him go, recoup a draft pick or draft picks in return, and use those draft picks to try to figure out what you want to do moving forward. Because if you don't, guess what's going to happen? The longer that this holds out, the worse it's going to look on y'all. And guess what? As the days go by, that value that was once in place is now dissipating. We literally saw that with Justin Fields. Because remember, when the word was going out that that the Bears were going to trade Justin Fields, a lot of people were speculating that the Bears were going to be looking for this boatload of picks and high draft picks and whatnot. He didn't even go to the Patriots. I mean, not the Patriots, excuse me. He didn't even go to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a third round pick. right? Justin Fields didn't even go for a third round pick. So as the days go by, the value for someone like a Judon or Brandon Ayuk is going to fall, and you won't have as much leverage. I don't care who the player is. I don't care what their stats say. I don't care what major accomplishment they have achieved over their career. It still does not stop the fact that they have to do something now instead of trying to play the long game. Okay. Now, it may work for certain players who may not have a whole lot of leverage, who may not have achieved the things that these type of players have achieved. But when you're someone like a Judon, who you know that if you go on to any of these other playoff caliber teams, like the Ravens, like the Lions, like the 49ers, or even the Chiefs, guess what? Oh, you're a difference maker. Oh, that changes the whole playing field. Because why? You are someone alone who can go and create and can be a disruptor and create a big play when a big play is needed. Not to mention, guess what? Offense are now going to have a problem on trying to game plan you and the other pass rusher that you're going up, that you're teaming up with, right? So I say all that to say this: Patriots, if you guys are not going to pay Judon, you might as well just want to let him go at this point. The team is still going through a rebuild. Team is still trying to, figure themselves out. They don't even know what's left and right and what's right and left. They don't know any of that. They're still going through, the heartaches of a very tough rebuild. So just let him go. Just let him go. It's not going to hurt you guys. It's not. Now, granted, it'll be different if he gets traded within the division. Then it's like, that's going to be bad because you have to see him twice a season. But if you trade him outside of the division, who really cares at this point, right? So I mean, hey, it is what it is at this point. If you guys aren't going to pay, then you have to figure out what's the next step at this point. And I'll just leave it at that. Now, on to the mega bag alert, okay? The mega bag alert. And you know what? I was waiting. I literally woke up the next day and I was looking at my phone. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going on a walk with my dog and whatnot. Next thing I know, I kept on hearing my phone. And I'm like, what's going on? Is someone calling me? Is something going on? No. Tristan Wirfs got paid. Tristan Wirfs got paid, folks. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Tristan Wirfs got paid. We also have something we also have to talk about that as well. But let's just get into the details first, okay? Now, Tristan Wirfs, okay, tackle for the Buccaneers, inked a 5-year, $140.63 million deal. He gets $88.24 million in guarantees, okay? Now, when we look at Tristan Wirfs already has had somewhat of a really good career so far, right? You're looking at someone who was an all-pro, who was a Super Bowl champion, who has played both left tackle and right tackle at an elite level, right? This is someone who is one of the best right tackles. Well, I don't even say right tackle. I would say one of the best tackles, right? When you look at someone like a Penei Sewell, Tristan Wirfs is right there with him. Right there with him. And, this is what I'll say. Me personally, I had a feeling that something was going to come down the pipeline sooner or later because the Buccaneers realized that, they need someone like a Tristan Wirfs on their team. You can't let someone like that go. You just can't. You're talking about someone who can play right tackle at an elite level and left tackle at an elite level. That is rare. That is rare. You don't just see that, every single draft. You don't, no matter who the person is, no matter what school they went to, okay? You don't see that. That's very rare, okay? What we are witnessing right now is someone who is able to be a swing tackle at an all-pro level on both sides of the ball, right? That's what we're seeing. And, they finally were able to fairly compensate him. And, now he is the highest paid tackle in the league. Now, me personally, when I was putting down my notes and I was going to do a prediction, for his deal, originally the deal that I had for Tristan Wirfs was 4 years, 120 million, which would be 30 million a year. He got 28.1. Petty, right? I know. 28.1 million. So I say all that to say this. Congratulations to the Buccaneers. You guys, definitely prioritize making sure that you take care of your own players, which is great, honestly. But who is to say that you guys won't be somewhat of a dark horse within your division? Because as of right now, in my opinion, the only other team that they really have to worry about is the Falcons. And that's not even a whole lot, really, honestly speaking here. Okay. They could do something. The Buccaneers could definitely make some noise. Especially if they try to maybe, make a splash and maybe free agency or a trade or something, they might be able to make some noise. Now, granted, I understand that they've lost, some people and whatnot, and every team does, but they can still make some noise. Now, is it going to be on the offensive side or the defensive side? I don't know. Again, I keep telling you guys, my crystal ball is on recall. I have to return it back to the crystal ball store in order for me to get a refund or a replacement. Now, moving forward, okay, we have to talk about this offseason when it comes to the receiver position, right? We just have to talk about it because in my years of watching football, and I know I probably sound very old when I say this, I have never seen so many players in one position get paid big money. I'm talking about big money, right? So let's just go over some of the notable receiver contracts that's happened in this offseason alone, right? So you have Justin Jefferson, 4 years, 140 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 years, 120 million. Jalen Waddle, 3 years, 84.75 million. Nico Collins, 3 years, 72.75 million. AJ Brown, 3 years, 92 million. Devontae Smith, 3 years, 75 million. Michael Pittman, 3 years, 70 million. Jerry Jeudy, 3 years, 52.5 million. And now you have DJ Moore, right? Now, all great deals, in their own, respectives, right? But you still have 4 contracts that are lingering. That out of those 4 contracts, if we're being real here, 2 of those might get close to resetting the market or they will reset the market, right? I don't really care at this point. But um, basically what I have been, well, not what I've been seeing, but basically what happened was there was a video circulating on social media, and basically it was Brandon Ayuk at practice, and he walked up to John Lynch, and he was dapping up John Lynch. Everybody was smiling, and then Kyle Shanahan dapped him up like in a really happy, not happy pose, but like in a really happy mood, right? So in your mind, you're thinking, oh shoot, a deal just got done. Someone's about to get paid, or oh, he got traded or something like that. No, no, not at all. I literally waited. I literally waited an entire day just to see if anything crazy was going to happen, and nothing happened. But there were a lot of conflicting reports because you had some people speculating and basically saying, from their side that, a deal could be coming soon. You had some people saying a trade could be happening soon. You have people like Adam Schefter basically saying like there's no deal imminent. You just have a whole bunch of bitter and batter. And it's basically gotten to a point where nobody really knows. I don't care if you have an insider that's been working with the 49ers for 20 plus years. You can't even really believe them at this point. You just can't. You can't. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to say about it, but again, that's not my team, so I could really care less. Now, let's get into my predictions and then Spot Rack's predictions for these next 4 receiver contracts, right? And this will probably be a relatively short episode because I want to save the longer episodes for when the regular season starts, and I want to be able to go a little bit more in depth about certain things because there's going to be more news to talk about. There's going to be more information coming out. There's going to be more just things, just overall, just to to discuss, honestly speaking here. Now, let's get into these predictions, right? So for CeeDee Lamb, me personally, I predict a 4-year, $137.8 million deal, which would be $34.45 million a year. Now, when you look at SpotRack's market value, correct? SpotRacks is 4 years, 136.1, which would be 34 point. Well, not 34 point, but 34 million a year, right? So we sort of have the same idea. Honestly, I just boosted mine up just a little bit. They kept theirs at just 34 flat, right? Now for CeeDee Lamb's situation, CeeDee Lamb is a little bit awkward because he is fighting for a deal while Dak is looking for a deal and Michael Parsons is looking for a deal. And to add the sweet cherry on top, Micah's looking to reset the market as well as CeeDee Lamb is looking to reset the market. So he's in a situation where he's trying to figure out am I going to get paid? Am I not going to get paid? Because Jerry's tone lately has somewhat been a little bit confused, but at the same time, I think he realizes that a major change needs to occur at this point because they've basically been doing the same thing for the past 10 or 15 years and it hasn't gotten them anywhere, right? You continue to say this is our year, this is our year, this is our year. We're going to be better this year than last year. We're going to be better than this year than the last 2 years. When it's like, no, you're just not. You are going to suck. You are not going anywhere. The last time you were relevant, guess what? I was only 1 year old, I think. Was I? I don't know. Don't care about it. Moving forward, okay? That was the last time that everyone was like, ooh, gotta be careful with the Cowboys, man. They're gonna give us problems this. No, man, ain't nobody worried about no daggone Cowboys. Especially now, you gotta pay Dak $60 million. You gotta reset the market for CeeDee Lamb, and you gotta reset the market for Michael Parsons. Ain't nobody worried about no daggone Cowboys. I'm going to be the first to say it. And we got to face the Cowboys this year. So guess what? When we beat the Cowboys, best believe I'm going to do an entire episode dedicated to that one game. You heard it here first. Yes, I am that petty. Your GM is that petty. I will literally call it Cowboys, the team that always loses. That's going to be the title for that game. And I cannot wait to make it. I might even make a compilation about it of all the things that happened during that game. Okay? That's what I might do. Now, moving back to the conversation. Okay? Let's be real here. Jerry realizes that, 9 times out of 10, he's probably going to fire Mike McCarthy, right? 9 times out of 10, he's probably going to let one of those 3 players go, right? Because, again, you cannot pay all 3 of them. You just can't, okay? But it also doesn't help that next year's draft class is not an offensive draft class, right? As well as, okay, walk with me, okay? The quarterback class is not good either. Well, I wouldn't say it's not good. Let me rephrase that before everyone starts saying, "Oh, you're just gonna shoot down all of those college kids." No, let me explain. Okay, the quarterback class is not as strong as it has been, a few years prior. Right? This quarterback draft class sort of reminds me of that Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell, Brock Purdy type of draft class. Okay, where it's like, it's not really the best. It's a lot of, second to third tier quarterbacks. These guys really aren't franchise quarterbacks. And guess what? We got Kenny Pickett in the first round, but I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. I was not going to do it, but just know I called it and I was right. Now, back to the situation at hand, okay? So that is just my prediction for CeeDee Lamb. Okay, moving forward to Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, for me, my prediction is a 4-year, $125.6 million deal, which would be about $31.4 million. SpotRack's market value for him is 4 years, $104.6 million, which would be $26.2 million a year. Now, when we look at that number, right, especially SpotRack's number, there was a report, I think maybe like a few weeks, well, not even a few weeks, I think maybe like a month or two ago, And I talked about it in previous episodes. Basically saying that the 49ers had an offer on the table, and it was 26 million a year, and Brandon Ayuk did not want it, and Brandon Ayuk is trying to get that 30 plus million a year type of deal. Now, the thing that works in Brandon Ayuk's favor is he's a really good route runner, right? His route tree is very diverse, so that sort of sticks out, you know, for his skill set and for him to get paid. However, the problem is he's in a situation where he's bumping elbows with Trent Williams because Trent Williams, guess what? He's in a holdout. And guess what? They'll probably prioritize Trent Williams over Brandon Ayuk. Unfortunately, I'm just being honest here, folks, because whether we want to admit it or not, it is easier to replace a receiver than it is an elite left tackle. It is, okay. It's not a bunch of elite left tackles just sitting home eating Doritos playing Rainbow Six Siege. Okay, it's just not. It's just not, okay. So I think it's still gonna be a difficult negotiation between Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers simply because there's been a lot of confusion, right? You have 1 minute he doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to be there, and he's letting it be known. He's being on the table. Let me go, trade me, trade me, trade me. Next thing you know, guess what? He wants to go to Washington. Wants to team up with his boy Jaden Daniels. Okay. Next minute, he's liking pictures of Mike Tomlin in his post, and then he's liking other things with Steelers and whatnot. Then he got Steelers fans all up in a bunch and rooting for him and everything. So it's a bunch of back and forth, a lot of confusion on his end. And again, not to mention, guess what? They have to pay Brock Purdy next year, and that's not going to be somewhat of a easy feat as well because guess what? He's been a really good quarterback. I could make a strong case that he's probably been a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo was when they got him. And I'm willing to die on that hill. I am willing to die on that hill. Because if Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, right? And he doesn't necessarily have to have this crazy season, this crazy game in the Super Bowl. But if he wins just the Super Bowl, that is 60 plus million that you have to automatically dedicate to Brock Purdy. I don't care who you have to cut, who you have to restructure. I don't care if you have to give everybody restructures and everybody makes only 2.6 million a year. Brock Purdy's going to get his. He is going to get his. Mark my words, you heard it here first on episode 20, the 20th episode, Catch a Pass, Win a Bag episode, okay? That is the title. I love that title. It got a little ring to it moving forward, okay? Now, with Jamar Chase's situation, right? So for me personally, this is my prediction. 4 years, 124.5 million, which is 31.12 million a year. Okay, Spotrac's market value for him is 3 years, 91.5 million, which is 30.5 million a year. Now, again, the Bengals are in a situation like all these others where they're trying to figure out who are they going to prioritize, right? So they've already taken care of Joe Burrow, cool, right? But at the same time, you have two of your best receivers who are also looking for money, right? And, Jamar Chase is the one. He is the alpha in that receiving room. But the problem is, T. Higgins can also do the same thing as well. So it's like, who do you prioritize first? Because whether we want to admit it or not, okay, the Bengals are in a situation where they cannot let both of them go. Because they know if they let one or even both of them go, that is it. Because guess what? Everybody has mainly feared the Bengals because of the offense. It's never been the defense. It's only been the offense. Because you had, that tandem of Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, then Joe Mixon at the time. But now that Joe Mixon has been traded, it's mainly Burrow, Higgins, and Chase, right? So it's a very, rocky situation. And also doesn't help that, the owner has sort of like said, but not really said, like, we're not really, talking about contracts, this off season. There's a time and a place for it, blah, blah, blah. I talked about it in a previous episode and made a whole rant alert about it. But do I think something might be able to get hashed out? There's a possibility. Do I think it's going to be drawn out and I think it's probably going to get ugly before it gets good? Yes, because I mean, come on here. This is probably the best receivers that we have seen since AJ Green, right? And you have to compensate them. You just have to. There's not a bunch of Jamar Chases and T Higgins just sitting around, sitting on their hands and saying, "Oh, pick me, pick me." It's not that. So they have to figure out exactly what are they going to prioritize, who are they going to pay first, and how are they going to get a deal done. Now, for Tyreek Hill's situation, I really couldn't come up with a number, and there wasn't no market value for him because he's already making 30 million a year. So the question is, how would an extension look for him? Because whether we want to admit it or not, he is still a top 5 receiver in the league. He is still a dynamic receiver, and he is still someone that is going to give teams problems. Okay, but the question is, how much money is he looking for? Like that is the number one thing that sort of like irritates me as a fan, but also as a podcaster because okay, you have all these players that are in holdouts, but it's like, what is the number, right? The insiders will talk about anything and everything else, but it's like, what is the number? What is the ballpark that the player wants, and what is the ballpark that the organization is willing to do business with, right? Because, for someone like a Tyreek Hill, how much money can you really give him, right? They just paid Tua, they just paid Jalen Waddle. Now they're getting ready to figure out what they're going to do with you. Like, if you're a Dolphins fan, you have to be concerned because they're really trying to put a mortgage, on this offense and thinking that it's going to just win them a Super Bowl when it's like, no, defense wins championships. That mantra will continue to stand and withstand the test of time. Defense will always win championships. Now, moving on to the Matthew Stafford restructure details, right? Because they finally were able to come out so we can finally, talk about them and whatnot, right? So essentially, it is a 1 year, $40 million deal, according to Tom Pelissero. Shout out to who? Tom Pelissero. Thank you so much for the information, all right? Matthew Stafford gets a $12.5 million signing bonus. He gets $23.5 million guaranteed this year. He gets $4 million guaranteed for a March roster bonus, and he has forfeited his 2025 guarantees. An important note with all of this as well is both sides will reassess once the season is over. Now, when we look at this situation, this could mean one or two things, right? They have come to terms that this could be possibly the last year that that they're going to work together, and that Matthew Stafford may want to go to another team, may want to retire, or whatever the case may be, right? As well as the Rams are continuing to move forward. They are still trying to patch themselves up and continue to be competitive while at the same time moving forward. Because yes, they've won the Super Bowl, they won it recently. Who's and ha's, hoorays. But at the same time, they still need to continue to move forward, right? And they've done that with the picks that they made, and moving off of people and people walking away from the game. Case in point, Aaron Donald and Andrew Whitworth and company. So it's just right that that they basically make sure that he is compensated, and basically they move that money from next year to this year so that it doesn't really necessarily affect him if he decides to retire or anything like that. So just a little bit of housekeeping notes, nothing really major to really discuss. Now, this is the last thing I'll talk about. Well, actually, you know what? No, it won't be. Lied. So before Tristan Wirfs got his deal, my prediction for him was a 4-year, $120 million deal, which would be $30 million a year. But clearly, I was wrong, so I apologize. But it was definitely close, though, right? Now, we do have to talk about what happened last night with the Hall of Fame game. Now, for those of you who do not know, the Hall of Fame game has definitely had a lot of infamy than notoriety. Okay, it has been a game where a lot of people have gotten season-ending injuries because of how bad the field was, and You see the legends and you see how the legends have they've gotten so big and, they went from, being this dude that's like, oh man, he looks, he's all right. The next thing you know, this dude got a gut, okay? He got a beer belly, okay? But, the kickoff, I think personally, I don't know. I have to see more. I have to see more. I think that's the best way for me to look at it. I'm not going to bash it and say, "Oh, this is the worst thing in the world. This is horrible. The NFL needs to take it back to what it used to be." No. And the reason why I say that is because they realize that that the traditional kickoff has caused more major injuries than what they like to see, right? A lot of times when those kickoffs happen, people are getting knocked out. They are getting have not moved. You're talking about very scary situations. And, the league probably as best as possible. And what is the best way to do that? With implementing a new kickoff rule. And it shows. Now, I will say this. If you are a team that has someone that is super fast, there's a guarantee he could probably score almost every single time. If the blocking is correct and whatnot, it's going to get done. I guarantee you by the playoffs, one of those coaches are going to do something super crazy when it comes to the kickoffs. Watch what I say. I wouldn't be surprised if it's either Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, one of those guys, or even Mike or Mike McDaniels. One of those guys, they're going to do something crazy with this. I know they are, because there's no way that, if you got someone like, I wouldn't say necessarily like a Tyreek Hill, but if you have someone that can run at least a 4-2 or maybe like a 4-3, oh yeah. Oh yeah, they're taking that to the crib. They're taking that to the crib almost every single time, especially if that blocking is on point. Whoo! Good Lord. Good God Almighty. But, the game unfortunately didn't end because of inclement weather. But let's just wait and see what happens next week when we have actually a full list of teams that are playing. Because guess who is playing next week, folks? The sixth time, sixth time, sixth time, sixth time, sixth time, sixth time, sixth time. Pittsburgh Steelers. That's right. We play next Friday. Cannot wait. We have so much to talk about. That might be an entire bonus episode for that. I am so hyped for it. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for all of you guys' support, okay? I want to especially thank my parents for supporting me with this journey, because if it wasn't for them, I definitely wouldn't have went through with this, because this all started because I remember it very vividly. I think we were taking my mom out for her birthday, and news was circulating that the Panthers were trying to get the number one pick, and the Bears were shopping it and whatnot, and then like literally as I was getting ready to eat, news broke that the trade had happened, basically that the Panthers now had the number one spot and whatnot. And my parents, and as well as my friends, I forgot about them as well, but my parents and my friends basically said like, why don't you start a podcast? This is something that you definitely love talking about, and you cover it a lot, a lot of information about it, so why don't you do it? And for the longest time I definitely put it off. I was like, nah, I just don't really want to do it and whatnot. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could, listen to myself talk and whatnot. And I don't know how I'll be able to do it. But, for me to be able to get to the 20th episode, and I understand there's probably some that, to think, oh, it's just a 20th episode. But this means a lot to me, because I didn't expect for me to make it to 20 episodes. I just didn't, And if you don't want to listen to this, you can skip it all the way to the end, and that's perfectly fine. But I just feel like I have to do this, and I have to recognize the people that definitely, supported me and have been supporting me throughout this entire process. So this is an amazing feeling. To anybody out there that is, looking to do something different, looking to do something new, looking to do something out of the box, do it. Just do it. And don't look at the support. Don't look at the people that's not liking your post. Don't look at the people that say that they're your friends and whatnot, and they're not liking your stuff. Don't look at that stuff. Be laser focused on what you want to create. Be laser focused on what you want to put out. Be consistent with it, and let your voice and let your creativity shine. And because guess what? There's going to be somebody out there that's going to be attached to it, that's going to love it, that's going to be an avid follower of whatever you do. Okay, if you would have told me that I have a consistent following in Europe, in Brussels, on the West Coast of America, on the East Coast of America, in the Midwest, I think a little bit in Canada, shoot, even in the Philippines, I would have called you a liar. But it's happened. So I want to thank every single person from the bottom of my heart for this. This is the first 20 episodes, and we're gonna keep going till we get to 40 and 60, 80 to 100, and moving forward. So thank you as always. And if you guys love what you guys are listening, please leave a 5-star review, leave a comment. Share it, to your friends and family, to other people that are avid, football listeners. You can follow us on Instagram at football_junkiespod. Again, that is football_junkiespod. You can follow us on TikTok at football_junkiespod as well. You can follow us on YouTube. For my YouTube people, like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on. Football_junkiespod. Everything is football_junkiespod. As well as, if you want to be able to go and access anything, if you go on our Instagram, I'll say it again, football_junkiespod. We have a link tree. You click on that link tree, it'll take you to all of our other handles, whether it be the TikTok, the YouTube, to the Instagram, or whatever the case may be, even RSS feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any place where you guys can listen to, we are available, we are there. And I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. I would not be surprised if there's going to be another episode coming out soon, especially with all this Brandon Ayuk stuff coming and circulating and whatnot. Would not be surprised. But as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so guys. I can't even speak. Thank you guys so much for being with me on this journey. I love you guys, each and every one of you guys, and I wish the best for each and every person that that listens to this podcast avidly. Thank you to all my friends. Thank you to Mook. Thank you to Shane. Shout out to Ty. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to my other man's Brandon. I got two friends that are Brandon. Shout out to my parents. I love you guys. Shout out to my sister. Shout out to to my family members. Shout out to my former co-workers from ESPN. Shout out to Danny. Shout out to Daryl. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to just everybody that supported this podcast. I love you guys so much. And this is the start of something great, and I hope you guys stay along with me as we go on this journey of being football junkies. So peace and love. I'm out.